They've never had it so good. That is the only conclusion that one can draw about the wealthiest Americans following the release of a new report by the non-partisan Congressional Budget Office. The report shows that middle-class incomes grew by nearly 40% over the last 30 years. OK, about 1% per year adjusting for inflation. Not too bad. But for the lower class, not so great. For the poorest fifth of the population, incomes rose by just 18% since 1979. But I guess the poor, well, they can only blame themselves.
Don't blame Wall Street. Don't blame the big banks. If you don't have a job and you're not rich, blame yourself.
Absolutely. But for Herman Cain and his big money backers, here's the really good news. The wealth of the nation's top 1% nearly tripled over that same time period. Incomes of the richest ballooned by 275%. Wow, 275%. No wonder the Godfather is smiling. If this is class warfare, the middle class lost badly. Yet, in the face of this, the Republican candidates continue to roll out plans that are designed to only increase the disparity. For more on this, I'm joined now by MSNBC contributor Jared Bernstein, Senior Fellow at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, with us from Washington. Good afternoon, Jared.
Good afternoon, Martin. Thank you for inviting me.
These figures are just staggering. The top 1% more than doubling their share of the nation's income. And yet, right. Herman Cain, Rick Perry, they'd like to hand the richest a big fat tax cut in the form of a flat tax. Please explain this to me.
I don't think I can. I can describe it. I can talk about what's wrong with it. But explaining it, you know, there's a rule in football. It's called unnecessary roughness. If somebody's been tackled already and maybe there are a bunch of people on top of them, you're not supposed to jump on them again. That's what we're that's kind of what we're talking about here. You've got what the CBO report shows is that the market by itself, these are market outcomes, is generating historically very high levels of inequality. Economic growth is basically become a spectator sport for many in the middle class. It does an end run around them and goes to the top. And so what you really don't want to see is a tax system that comes in on top of that and makes it worse. And that's precisely what we see in some of these Republican plans, particularly the Cain plan, less so in the Perry plan, but there as well.
Yeah, but you know, Jared, that a flat tax is going to be to the direct benefit of the wealthiest, because the wealthiest tend to draw their income from dividends and bonuses on money. They don't earn by simply going and working in McDonald's, do they?
No, and that's why I only said less so. In fact, you're absolutely right. And where you really see the benefits of the Perry plan redound, it's to those, precisely the folks that have been doing the best, those at the very top of the scale. Middle-class folks under his plan can choose to pay what they're paying now, and many will. But, of course, if you're exacerbating the income growth at the top of the scale. Now, one other point from this really fascinating CBO study that really bears on this. One of the things they do in that study is they figure out how has the tax system affected this inequality problem over time. We still have a progressive system of taxes and some of the government benefits. It has become less progressive over time. That is, the growth of income inequality has been greater after tax, after we have taxes and government programs in the picture, than it has before tax. So, in a sense, the tides of inequality have been rising, but the levies that we have to push back against them have been less effective. The last thing we need is to take those levies down further.
OK, so in simple terms, when Eric Cantor, when John Boehner, when Rick Perry, when Mitt Romney say get rid of regulations, cut taxes, reduce the tax burden, and then the economy will flourish and jobs will be created, you say?
I say, Mr. Boehner, Mr. Cantor, when I hear your agenda, it sounds to me like you think America's big problem is that rich people aren't wealthy enough. That is not America's big problem. America's big problem is jobs and economic opportunities for the middle class. And if you're not addressing that problem, you're simply not in the game.
Jared Bernstein, as ever, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Stay with us.